Hello, everybody that is coming in. We are going to be going live today with Marquita. Hello, so our guest just joined us. I'm going to send her a request, and we're just going to wait a few moments, and the more people are going to come in. So make sure to share this live for all your friends out there so they could be able to join us this evening. Hello, hi, everybody that's coming in. Hello. Hope everybody's doing well. Hello. Hi. You look so nice. Hi. Let me bring
I
this down a
appreciate
little
that.
bit. You look great. Hello. I'm going to give me 1 second. I'm going to send the live to a few people so they could be able to definitely join us.
You look so pretty.
Thank you so much. I was just like, oh, okay. I feel like I'm always doing like wearing the same color. So I was like, oh, let me try something different and just put on some little accessories. I always love gold. So thank you so much. I truly appreciate it. You look lovely as well. I
Thank
love your eyebrows. It's on point.
you. Know, I will. You guys are getting face today because I'm literally in my work clothes. Like I just left the studio. I'm in my home office now, but it has been such a busy day, and I was like, I am not going to be late for this. I
Oh,
I'm here and I'm excited.
oh, I truly appreciate you, and especially being on time. I know how you're feeling because even for myself, yesterday, when I had my initial live, I actually had to go into the office at work. So one thing, I'm commuting from Long Island. So now that I'm commuting from Long Island, it was just such a long delay, and it was literally like 5:45, and I'm walking home. I'm like, oh my gosh, I had to get home like before that, mark so I can be able to get myself together because I feel like it's such a big rush.
Is. And what's funny is that we're doing all of these things. Like, of course, you were out and you had to come home, but we're doing more stuff from home than ever. And I
I
find, like, why am I late? I should not be late. I should be super, super early for everything. I'm going to see. I think I can. I'm going to see. I think I can share this, right?
Yeah, yeah, you can.
Okay. I'm learning how to do all this stuff. Usually, all of my studio kids teach me. I'm like, anything I need to learn, I'm like, a private lesson and how to floss. Like,
I and let me tell you, they come up with so much new stuff daily. I'm always going on YouTube and be like, okay, how
yeah,
do I do this? Or let me figure out how to do that because, like you said, there's so many new features and stuff. I can't be able to keep up. I'm just like, okay, I can barely turn on my phone.
YouTube University is what I call it. They're like, where did you graduate from? I'm like, YouTube University.
Yes, top of your class. That is the play. Oh, sorry, my little dog's barking out there. Excuse me,
My
but without.
ears.
Yes, yes, I am so sorry about the noise, but
No,
with definitely further ado, we have Marquita here with Authority Runway that's going to be talking with us. Oh, it's my birthday. Happy birthday to you.
happy
Thank you,
birthday,
everybody,
Rob.
for joining in. So without further ado, we have the beautiful Marquita here. So I will definitely get started. I first and foremost want to say thank you so much for joining me today and taking some time out of your busy schedule to definitely learn a little bit more about you and how we can continue to support you.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me. I'm really excited.
Thank you so much. Yes. So I know you as Marquita. How what is your name and also what is the name of your brand?
So, my full first name is Marquita Bianca. My mom gave me the double first name, so it's like Becky Sue or Mary Beth or, any double first name from the South that you can think of. That's so a lot of people think that Bianca is my last name. And everyone was confused when I got married because they were like, wait, but we thought Bianca was your last name. So are you going to hyphenate your name? I'm like, no, this is my first name. So it's too much to say. I don't make people say it. People call me Kita. They call me MB. Just don't call me late for dinner. And then so, but I have a couple of different brands. Marquita Bianca is a brand all by itself. So I have, of course, my own website, and I teach fashion here in Virginia Beach, Virginia, where I live, even though everyone thinks that I live in New York. And I'm okay with that.
I think you do technically. You share spaces
I
between.
do. I should have like dual citizenship with New York. and be a New Yorker as well as a Virginian. And then I am the fashion editor, of course, for the Runway Authority. So, and that's cool because that's how we met.
Yes, yes, yes. I mean, we'll definitely get into that story. I mean,
Yeah.
I feel that our audience members are definitely in for a treat because not only are you so focused and dedicated into your brand, you are very giving, you're very sharing, you're always being able to help others as well. So I think they're going to truly love learning about you today. So.
Oh,
Yes, yes. So tell us a little bit about yourself. So I know that you mentioned living in Virginia. How do you like living in Virginia? Tell us a little bit about your background and also your love for New York.
yeah, so I love living in Virginia Beach. I'm a beach girl. I've been a beach girl ever since I was born. I've lived here probably, I would say, three-quarters of my life. Both of my parents were in the Army. When they were fighting over duty stations, when I was old enough to say, I'm going to stay here and you guys go wherever you want, I chose to stay. It's a wonderful place. I feel like some people retire here, but I think it's a great hub,
Yeah.
because I'm literally in the middle of the US. I can go to Florida on a flight. I can go to New York very easily.
Yes.
So I'm not like pinned to one side of
Yes.
nice. And my life here is a little bit more quiet than it is when I come to New York, which is really, really nice. I can come here, I can write, I can digress, I can work on my businesses, I can work on the brands. And then I still, of course, have this love affair with my second city of New York. And I mean, literally, if I added up, I live in New York for 6 weeks a year. And I'm like, this is enough for me to say that I'm halfway from here. But I love it. I love it, but it's just the amount of time that I need for the hustle and bustle because it's fast there. You guys,
Very.
like, we don't even sit down to eat dinner when we come to New York, let alone anything else. And I'm so used to sitting and in the moment and cherishing meals. And when we go to New York, it's like, quick hot dog, quick pizza, quick this. You can only do that so many straight.
I agree. I
I,
agree.
I haven't nailed it to where I can kind of come and coast, if that makes sense. I'm working on that for this upcoming season. I'm working on it.
I agree. I think definitely one thing, like you mentioned about New York being a fast-paced environment, I think it's due to us commuting, and most of us are not taking, most of us are taking public transportation. So it's like,
Yeah.
oh, we have to get to this train to the next train, and sometimes there's a delay, so we're barely coming
Oh,
on time. So it's really, really, really a different dynamic, I guess you could say. And even like you were mentioning, just like grabbing a quick bite to eat is just like, even myself included, I hate when I do that because I
yeah.
feel like, yes, I feel like I really don't get a chance to enjoy the meal. I feel like I'm just rushing myself. So I do try to cut some time out my day and say, hey, you know what? Let me leave a little earlier so I can get there earlier and be able to do what I need to do. Because I, like you mentioned, I think New York is such a fast pace that now it's a lifestyle for others. Where it's just like when you're outside of that, or like you said, going back to Virginia, you're like, wait, okay, this is what normal life feels like. It's amazing.
Right, right. Nice to have that little gap of space, in there. And also what I'm not used to, like here we drive everywhere. So
Yeah.
when you're talking about like the public transportation, that's so weird to me. So if I, plan out to get to a show on time and then a train is not running and I have to message somebody like, oh, the train's not running, I'm going to be late. Like I'm just not used to that at all. I'm used to having a little bit more control, you
Yes.
know,
Yes.
car in my driveway in front of my house. I get in it. I drive where I'm going to go. I park and then I go in that place. So
Yeah.
that is a little, and even Ubering, like you can't stop the traffic. It doesn't matter what mode of transportation you're taking.
Yeah.
You're going to be late regardless.
I agree. I agree. There's so many different factors there. So I'll definitely move along to our next question is um when did you know that you wanted to seek a career in fashion?
Oh, that's a good one. So I started dancing. I'm a professional salsa dancer. So that's how the
Yes.
whole thing started at the age of 21. And as I was performing and traveling to shows, of course, costuming and all of those things, it's just ingrained in you to just love costumes if you're a performer. And I used to have requests for people to either make my costumes or dress me for shows, or, and so it just kind of slowly became something where then I wanted to design my own costumes, and I wanted to be a little bit more hands-on with what
Right.
we were wearing and then what our dance teams were wearing. And from then it's just grown on to now. I've always loved to write.
Yeah.
Writing for me is therapeutic. I mean, you're an amazing writer too, so you
Oh,
understand
thank you.
kind of, it's something that's in you. And I think that when I started getting more into fashion, my love for fashion wasn't necessarily making the clothes, but it was just knowing everything it was to know about them and how they come
Yeah.
to fruition. So it just birthed itself.
Wow. And what steps, in your opinion, did you have to take to say, hey, you know what? I wanted to transition my love for fashion into getting into the industry or possibly being exposed to the industry? Did you do a lot of research? Did you happen to know connections? Or was it one of those things where, you know what? I'm just going to take a leap of faith and just see, put myself out there and see what happens?
YouTube University. No, I'm just
Yeah.
um so when I actually started a blog way back when, I mean, we're talking probably about 8, 9 years now. And I can't say that I did it as consistent or as heavy as some of the girls that I will just give complete props to. Like, we have girls out here that are just killing it.
Yeah.
But the process of traveling for dance, I started the blog. And so I started kind of writing about my experience in being a dancer. I knew writing was something eventually, not necessarily that I wanted to do full time, but I knew it was something that I was good at. Like, it just flowed for me. It
Yeah.
wasn't hard. If I am in the mood, I can sit down and write editorials for days. So fast forward to, I'd say, probably 4 years ago, I was approached by the two photographers that co-own the Runway Authority, and they asked if I would come on to be their editor. And I was like, okay. And I was already writing, I was already blogging, I was already covering things for my website, marquitabianca.com. And so it just was a good fit. It was a
Yeah.
really good fit. And they were as serious as, I still am about just exploring creative stories and
Yeah.
what the story is behind, the designers, and getting to know the designers, building the relationships like you
Right.
talked about is a really, really huge thing. We don't go just after what's cool and what's trendy. We
Correct.
love designers that are human and small and passionate and, thought provoking. So it's been a really, really cool journey.
Wow, and I love that, like you've mentioned, just being able to use your skill set in the best way possible by saying, you know what, this is what I'm great at, and I'm going to be able to leverage that in a way to where I'm not going out of my comfort zone and I'm trying different things and I'm not really too happy with that, but saying that, hey, I'm a great writer, and sticking with that. And I think that's very important for the fashion industry because there's so many different outlets within the fashion industry.
Right.
So I think people are just like, oh, okay, if I don't try this, I'll try that. But it's very important to stick for what you love and what you know that you're skilled in, because I feel that that will fuel that passion.
I agree. I agree. And that's why I started classes at our school, because I have my kids, they were, come to me. We always see you going to Fashion Week. They follow me on, Instagram.
Oh, that's so nice.
And, when I ask them, do they want a career in fashion? They say yes. And I'm like, okay, well, that's great. That's wonderful. What do you want to do? That's my next question. What do you want to do? Where do you want to go? And, oh, I want to be a designer. Okay, great. Well, what does that mean? Are we going couture? Are we going ready to wear? Like, where are you going to fit in? Well, I don't know. Well, we need to figure this out,
Yeah.
and we're not going to figure it out when you leave Virginia to, go to, Parsons, and you waste all this money in, going this direction to the left when
Right.
you really wanted to go to the right. But here we are, 60K in student loans before we figure it out. So
I agree. I totally agree. And I think that what you just said was just really a great statement, because I feel that now with technology and so many different things that are changing, and possibly the change of the fashion industry itself, is so many outlets and so many different things that you could be able to say, hey, you
Yeah.
know what? Let me possibly learn to shadow underneath this person, or let me look at this person's blog, or even look at your blog and say, hey, you know what? I love your style of writing. Let me really look into that. So we have a comment here that says this, speak on it. Yes, I agree. I couldn't agree more with you with that. Totally a great statement. I definitely want to move on to talk a little bit about your blog on marquitabianca.com.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about your blog, and tell us a little bit more about how do you happen to organize time for your blog as well between your
Ooh,
other different best businesses.
very, very interesting. Organization is something where you never truly, truly, I think, achieve it. It's always something that you're working towards,
Right.
because there's always a better way to be doing something. But one of the things that I stuck, or I stick with the mission for marquitabianca.com, is that I'm just going to document. I'm going to document what I learn. I'm going to document what I see. And so, with teaching just fashion career study here in Virginia Beach, I'm like, you know what, this can just be my sounding board that I can, throw up, okay, so as a fashion editor, how do I manage this? And as a fashion enthusiast, well, how do I organize this? And so that's really where marquitabianca.com is based off of. So it's not something that's so separate that takes up a whole nother chunk of time.
Right.
It kind of flows with the time, that I have. And I recently started doing vlogs to put on my YouTube channel.
Yes, I did see that. Great, you guys. I encourage you guys to
It's
check it out.
it's the only way that it works is that because it coincides with each other. If
Yes.
I trying to pump out different types of content, it would never happen. I mean, I don't even know how the kids nowadays. One of my kids, I hired her as my unofficial um, TikTok director. I said, "You're going to be my TikTok director." She says, "Okay, Miss Marquita." So now she does all the TikToks for our dance facility, and I'm like, "Thank goodness," because I wouldn't. I just don't even have the capacity for one more thing. I can't commit.
I agree. I
I just
agree. And I think now with so many different apps, it comes with so many different platforms, and it comes with so many different rules versus Instagram, where you're just posting and creating a caption, versus YouTube, where you have to, well, record that video, edit that video, and post as well. So many different things. But like you said, that if it's cohesive and it really aligns with your overall mission and the overall purpose of your blog, you could definitely make it work in your favor and find
yes.
those different balances within that initial blog. So I definitely want to encourage everybody to go check out your blog, check out your YouTube channel. Please go and give her some love, you guys. So I know definitely towards the end of this live, I'm going to definitely put a story, and you guys please make sure to go follow Marquita and check that out. So that is great. So I know you talked to us a little bit about the Runway Authority.
Yeah.
So as a editor for the Runway Authority, what obstacles have you faced with yourself in the industry? Was there ever a moment when you were like, oh man, I don't know, how am I going to move forward? Or was there ever another moment where it was like, you know what, this is just like the greatest moment right now?
What's interesting is I know that I'm made to do this. I know that I have a personality where if you give me the time of day, I will make sure that you love me. So that is literally, I think, the one thing that I walked into this with that really helps. And it's not in a diva way. It's not in a, thinking I'm all that way. It's just in a way of, I'm just going to kind of extend myself in a space as much as it will allow me to.
Right.
But I will say that it was a very interesting space in the sense that when you leave Virginia Beach and I'm coming to New York never stops. So essentially it's challenging for someone like me because I leave after the season's over, of course, and then I process all of this data, and of course it goes up like everybody else and everything. But I'm gone for 6 months
Yes.
until season comes. Well, as a New Yorker, you guys keep on moving. You're continuing to go to, previews and this and this and this. So what I've had to do is make that same type of schedule for myself, but long distance.
Correct.
Sure to maintain all the relationships with the designers, checking on them. And so it's so much more energy than kind of just, oh, I'm on my way home, on the F train. Let me stop by and see so and so and so. And making appointments with them, making sure that they know that they are loved from us and our publication and how in us that we see them. So I think that that's probably been maybe the most challenging, but I think that in that I'm really having a great time because I've met so many amazing people. Now I'm to the point where I have girls and awesome, blogger friends. When I go to New York, I'm like, hey, let's go have a drink or let's have coffee or let's have lunch or something. And so now it's kind of blossomed into something else. So, what you put in is what you get out, like the age old saying.
Wow. And I think I love that statement that you made. And I feel like it was really inspiring because I think, like you mentioned, sometimes when you don't see that initial opportunity in front of you, or like you mentioned, with time passing by, you really get a chance, you really forget sometimes like our initial goals and purposes. So definitely, like you said, making sure you have this relationship with other bloggers and even having that encouragement and supporting one another. And I think
Yeah.
that is so important because I feel like the Fashion Week is like a big community in a sense. You see people all the time from season to season, and to definitely
Yep.
see them again, especially in the shows, it is just a rewarding moment to say, hey, you know what, you cannot help but say, hey, how are you each season? How are you doing? And really
Yep.
having that genuine relationship and support. So I love that you said that. I thought that was just truly great. We have some comments here. Sorry, guys, I don't mean to miss any comments. This thing's scrolling so fast. Oh, thank you, Rachel. Both are so beautiful. Thank you. Hey, ladies. Hello. Thanks for joining. So
So
true.
I on your page yesterday, Rachel. You are the flyest, girl.
Yes, Rachel has some amazing street style outfits and just really, really
Mm-hmm.
fashionable as well. Thank you, everybody that's joining in. So I definitely want to move on to New York Fashion Week since you're an expert in this field, and I feel that our audience members would definitely enjoy this conversation to follow, which is how do you prepare for New York Fashion Week as far as really planning your flights and maybe even also your outfits as well.
It has been a learning curve. I remember, so let's go back to the first season that I attended Fashion Week. I was
Okay.
beside myself. I packed way too much. Um, and, I am the type of girl where, like, I like to look high maintenance, but I don't want to be high maintenance. Like, I don't want to take out,
Yes.
but I want to look like I took 3 hours to get ready. So for me, it's like, okay, I'm not the girl who's going to walk around in the heels all day and then my feet hurt. I can't do that because then I'm going to be, how they say hangry when you're hungry? Like I'll have an accident. Um, so
Yes.
then also I know, if it's February, I don't want to be cold because if I'm cold, then I'm
Yes.
going to have an accident. So my first fashion week, I want to say it was February, and I just trying to plan coats and this and this and this, and it was very interesting. But I think now I have a system. I don't overpack. I take what I need. I take what I know that I'm going to wear. And to the point where now I think I pack about maybe 50% of what I need for the week because when I come up, then I'll come up and get dressed, with certain designers that we've built relationships with and everything. So that's really nice and a blessing. And I love to support them in that way. And so organizing before I leave starts probably a month, like, the end of July. I am looking at, okay, well, what shows are going to happen? What did we cover last season? What are some of the things outfit wise that I'm inspired by? Because it's not just necessarily about looking good at the shows, but I want to look good and feel good for myself.
Correct.
I lot of local designers. I love wearing designers from Virginia. I love
Yes.
taking New York with me. Some of the most notable outfits that I've worn for Fashion Week that have been posted by Getty or, other New York publications have been Virginia designers. So I am such a hometown girl in that way.
Yes.
I will look for designers here to make me things. So if I need to ship something or, get it straight, then, I have no problem with that. As long as I'm kind of just sticking to the mission of our publication and also just really having a good time. Like I just try to really have fun. I try
Great.
to make it enjoyable thing because it's a long 7 days. It's a
Yes.
hectic 7 days. And if you don't have a great perspective, that 7 days can feel like 2 weeks real quick. So I
Oh,
try
yes.
where, you know what, I'm blessed to be here. I'm blessed to sit at this table. I'm blessed to be able to say hello and hug. And we may not be hugging this season, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just
Yes.
in the midst of everyone. And so with that, everything else kind of just doesn't seem as heavy.
I agree. I agree. And I love everything that you mentioned because even myself included, prior to living in New York, I was traveling from Florida. So there were so many times where I was just like taking my feet and just kicking my suitcase, like, please let this jacket fit for February because it's cold and it's different
Oh,
because you definitely could wear layers, but it's like, oh, you want a really warm jacket, but fashionable jacket too at the same time. It's a different different thing. And like you mentioned, definitely enjoying yourself, enjoying the moment, and really enjoying the right now. And I think you couldn't have said anything else any greater because I think I truly believe and love what you said because I think, like you mentioned, when Fashion Week goes by so fast, we're just like, oh, thinking about the shows, going to the next one. But like you said, really enjoying and absorbing that. Because
yeah.
like last season, I mean, it's maybe different this season due to the COVID-19 and that situation. But it's like, last time everybody we sat so close and everybody got a chance to look at the show. So many things changes from time to time. We never know when
Yeah.
we're going to get that ultimate experience again.
I know. And I'm hoping that we can, in the safest way possible, be able to share those. And, we'll see how it pans out.
I agree. I agree. I totally agree. I want to be able to see this year how is their front row. I mentioned this in my live yesterday. Like, how is front row going to be, knowing that there's so many dynamic changes that have happened in the past couple of weeks and stuff moving forward? Will brands continue
Yeah.
to be exclusive and have different people in their front row, maybe different models, maybe even change their whole marketing strategy to where it's including Black women and all different other people as well. So I'm really looking forward to that. Oh, we have some comments here. Oh, both women so beautiful. Thank you so much. Thank you for definitely for the comments. Okay. Oh, we just discussed that question about outfits for New York Fashion Week. But I think
Yeah.
another great thing to talk about for New York Fashion Week is now, how do you plan for your shows? Do you kind of just like get your ticket to a show and say, hey, you know what? I'm just going to go to each show, or do you kind of strategize and say, hey, you know what? On this day, I have these shows. On the next day, I have these shows. And I'm going to stay organized.
So my main purpose for when I attend shows is that I want to be really thorough.
Yeah.
There's a couple of different elements to that. If I'm invited to a show, they have gracious enough to give me a seat, an interview, all of those things. I'm going to make sure that I prioritize that and give that designer, of course, my time. I'm not a proponent of trying to rip and run to be at every
Yeah.
show just because. And I think probably very, very early in my career, I was that girl. I just said, you know what, I'm just going to try to be in as many places as possible. And to my detriment, just your self-care during Fashion Week, it just really suffers when you try
Yes.
to do. So now in organizing my schedule, I'm really blessed because, we have a team of photographers. The guys literally say, okay, Marquita, where are you going to go? Where are you going to be? And then we're going to match up so that we can be there with you. So
Oh,
on,
that's great.
on an average show, I will have 2 to 3 photographers. I've got one that's backstage with me. I have one that is front of house, that's in the pit. One of them might be shooting beauty, or accessories. And then, of course, someone that's shooting, backstage. So it's a full production with making my schedule for Fashion Week. But I will sit down. I will say, okay, who do we have confirmed interviews with? I want to make sure that I take the time to get whatever creative story that person has. And
Right.
it takes time. You can't just sit down and do that 10 minutes before you meet the designer. That's
Of
not
course.
possible. So that literally might be at least 2 to 3, if not 4 shows per day. Just
Yes. Correct.
I'd love to go to the blonde.
So long, he just
Oh,
froze.
did I lose?
Okay. Do you hear me now?
I think I'm back though.
Okay. Do you
Can you
hear
hear me?
me?
Let me see.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Let me see if you
Let's see. Let me try to turn up the
Oh,
volume. Okay, I hear you a lot better now.
yay, we're back. Okay.
Okay,
So
yes, yes.
one of the shows that I like going just for entertainment value is The Blondes. I love going to
Oh,
the Blondes.
yeah. That's a great show.
It's like a concert, you know what I mean? I've missed it a few times because, they don't get started till like 11 o'clock at night. And I'm like,
Yes.
have 9 a.m. interview the next morning. But so once I prioritize those particular shows that we just spoke about, then I love going to attend any of the other ones that I can possibly make. And then I also try not to take for granted all of the in-betweens. I do still like going and visiting showrooms. I do still like going off-site, and just getting off of Spring Street, getting out of, Pier 59. Like, I love seeing shows that are, in other places. I love designers that go off the cuff. And just kind of maybe even discovering some that our publication wouldn't have, had privy to if we didn't get out of the building and go somewhere else.
Correct. I totally agree with you. And I think that one of my favorite things from Fashion Week has been presentations. Even
Yeah.
though the traditional runway, we're used to seeing it, but presentations are great. I feel like you're able to come a little closer to the model, really get a chance to see the details of the clothes. I just feel like you have more time to really get a chance and pay attention to the actual clothing compared to sometimes when it's on the runway, it's going by so quick and you're just like, oh, okay, trying to catch that. So I really and truly encourage the audience members to really take a look at presentations also outside of runway shows. And like you said, other smaller runway shows outside of Spring Studios, those are really great shows. And they're also intimate as well as far as with the space. So you get a really great personal experience. So I'm really happy that you definitely shared that information. One other question I do definitely have about New York Fashion Week is, I know you mentioned the Blonde show. What are some of your favorite shows that you look forward to attending each year?
Ooh, okay. I have a few. So I love amazing female designers. Wang Tao is a wonderful designer. She has the label called Torres. She was one of
Oh,
the
yes, 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 yes.
Wang and I call it our girlfriend date. Each season, we have an interview. She's so eloquent. She's such a girl's girl. And it's just awesome to talk with her because there's such a strength in her. And I'm just like, I walk away from our interviews every time, like, I just feel better about myself as a girl. Like, I want to go and do something to my hair, or I want to, have
Yeah.
that personality. Nicole Miller is one of my favorites. She's redheaded soul sister. So, we go together in my mind as far as that. But I love creative, melanated minds. Christopher John Rogers has
Oh, yeah.
wonderful line. Pierre Moss is amazing
Yes.
in with the production of just the show and the quality of the show. There's some amazing Black fashion designers that we are not putting full front and center.
Correct.
Full front and center. And it's really too many to name, but so I have a lot. I am definitely a Badgley Mishka lover. I love they have really, really just beautiful shows. So many. So we could talk a whole hour just about the amount of designers and how much I love so many of them.
Yes, and like you mentioned, definitely Christopher John Rogers. He has a great show. Even last season, to me, was one of the best shows I think of the season. One other designer I would definitely like to throw out there is Sojourner Hudson. Had
Yeah.
a great show as well. And I really encourage everybody that's watching, definitely pay attention to the Runway Authority for all of these different designers, different things that is going on with Fashion Week. I know we do have outlets like Vogue and Essence and other brands, but please continue to support your bloggers like yourself that show this one-on-one experience for you and from your perspective. So I really encourage everybody to definitely check that out. If you're unfamiliar, some of the brands that we've mentioned, The Runway Authority has that information, so please make sure to go check it out. So I did have another question about last New York Fashion. What?
I think I can't hear you.
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay.
Hold on.
Yes. You hear me now?
You can hear me though?
Yes, I can hear you. Okay. I can't hear you now. I can't hear you now.
Oh, yeah. So now it clicked back on. I don't know why it wants to do that.
Oh, no, it's okay. It's all right. No problem. Yes, my other last question about New York Fashion Week is, what are some of your predictions as far as moving forward with the season? Do you think that people are able to get the same kind of one-on-one experience at a virtual reality fashion show?
Okay, repeat that question one more time because you just went out. I got half of it.
Okay, sure. Sorry. My question is about New York Fashion Week and what are some of your ideas for this initial season in September that's coming up? I was curious to know your opinions on virtual shows. Do you think people are able to still get that one-on-one experience versus how they get on a runway show at a virtual show?
You know, that's going to be really interesting. You know, designers with their creativity, you know, there's levels to this, I will say. You know, some designers love a straightforward fashion show where it is just walking down the runway, you turn and, you know, and maybe their fluff is how they're styling the outfit. Then you have other designers where there's really a production aspect to it, like the Blondes,
Yes.
you know, or, you know, like Dan Liu. And I mean, he sings at his fashion shows. He has dancers at his fashion shows. Pure mock, you know, we just talked about that. So I think that, you know, you do lose a little bit of the production value if we are just looking at doing it virtually. As a performer myself, if I am sitting in front of you and I can see, touch, smell, all of those things, then I'm kind of engulfed in a 360, you know, of that environment at that time.
Right.
When you are just witnessing it virtual, it just really gives you such a 180 flat version of that.
Yeah.
Not saying that we couldn't do it. Not saying that if we absolutely have to, you know, go that route, that it still can't be amazing. I think that for even some designers, trying to get the production up to quality might be a challenge because it's expensive.
Right. Yeah.
You can't just press record on your iPhone and think it's going to look like the production of some of these shows that are costing upwards of $100,000 to produce. You know, so if we're just talking about the reality of it, you know, it'll be challenging. But I think that, of course, safety is going to reign above all. In saying that, I think that major venues like Pier 59, you know, Spring Studios, like this is what they do. And, you know, so if they're saying that they're going to have Fashion Week, I respect them in that. I think that they're going to take all the precautions to keep us safe. And they're going to be thinking because, you know, we've got to allow the professionals to do their job.
Correct.
You know, and if we allow them to do their job and we allow them to wow us in whatever it is, that sector that they're great at, then I think that, you know, there shouldn't be any problems. So I'm hoping selfishly, you know, for a second of that, but, you know, it can be done either way. You know, fashion prevails no matter what. It's one of those things that is never going to go away. It's always going to be very important. And, you know, whether you're talking about how much you love a pair of jeans or whether we're talking about sustainability, it's important regardless. You know, you live your life in it.
I agree. I think this definitely, this will be a great conversation to have with you. Maybe we could do a short interview at Fashion Week, or maybe we could do another live together, definitely after Fashion Week, and definitely your thoughts and your opinions on that. I would love to hear more initially of your thoughts and your opinions of this current Fashion Week after it has happened and seeing all the initial changes. So I think it'll definitely be interesting because I'm like yourself, I'm selfishly like, oh, you know, I hope that, you know, all things will go well. But if they have to do things in slight modifications and wanting the safety of others, I totally agree. And we'll definitely have to apply with that. So
I think the important thing about that, I'll add one more thing.
Yeah, sure.
Is that, you know, the fashion show is one aspect of this.
Yeah.
We have to think about the full ecosystem that happens behind that, like it's people's livelihood. The reason that we're at the fashion show is that we can, at that point, take the time and then advance the designer's mission. And so if we're focusing on just that part, there's 1,000 ways that we can do that. So if they have
Yes.
to edit a show, if they have to do something different, if we kind of stick with the perspective of, you know what, like, Wang, I'm sitting front row at your show. You are my girl. I want to make sure that I get you press, and I want to make sure people know about this. Christopher John Rogers, you are amazing at what you do. The world needs to know about you. So, you know, if we just kind of focus on the perspective of advancing everybody in their mission, then regardless of how they do it, it's going to work out. And we'll have fun. And we'll enjoy.
I agree. And I love that statement that you mentioned, because I think sometimes, you know, a lot of people, they're just so wrapped up in a lot of things, they totally forget that actual statement. So thank you definitely for sharing that and just being so honest with us, because that is truly a great statement. I'll take it back. But I definitely want to touch on your personal style a little bit. Can you talk to us about your personal style? Is there some things that you currently love, or some signature things that you have to have in your closet?
Ooh, so I love a little bit of everything. You know, I like to step out of my box, which is, I'd say, probably sophisticated and classic. You know, I love to put on, you know, like a ripped jean, and I'll love to put something classic with it and pair something, and then put on like a really fancy, super, super high pair of shoes with it. So, yes, you know, again, it goes back to completely looking high maintenance and not being high maintenance. If it fits in that, then I'm all over it. But I say for me, if I'm home here in Virginia and I'm not at Fashion Week, then I wear a lot of my branded gear from my school. But my main things that I'm not going to leave the house with will be a great red lipstick all the time. Probably I have big hair, so I have to have big hoops all the time. So unless I'm dancing or around my kids, you know, that like to grab on them. But I love classic pieces. You will see me in black and white a lot. I love a black and white moment. Yeah. I absolutely adore a black and white moment. I love the color yellow. So if you have melanin, you look amazing in yellow.
Yeah.
It's just how it is. You know, it's our color, you know,
yeah.
and blue. You know.
Yes, I agree. It just pops, definitely. I must say that I definitely want to put this note out there. You have beautiful dresses. I remember the first time that I met you at Fashion Week, you had this beautiful dress, and you just kill a dress. And I feel like it's the Marquita way of a dress, because I feel like if I'm telling you, you have a signature style in a dress, and you just rock that. So I definitely encourage everybody that's watching, just please go through your feed, like your content, and just support you, definitely.
And dresses are easy. Like, you just throw them on, you know, and you don't have to worry about belts. You don't have to worry about this, and you know. So if you see me in a dress, 9 times out of 10, I'm rushing. I just told on myself, but I'm rushing. You know, you throw it on if your hair is good, you know. Yeah. So I am a girl's girl. I do love a dress.
I love a dress myself. It's definitely classic, like you mentioned, and I feel like you said, you don't need a belt. You can accessorize if you like, but it's also very comfortable also. So I truly...
And you can eat.
Yes.
Because I love to eat. So we talked about it. It's really hard to eat during Fashion Week, so you got to wear something that's not so tight, where you can like have a meal, you know, and then run back to a show. Like, you can't be worrying about, oh my gosh, my enchilada stomach's poking out right now. Like, you need something that hides all of that during Fashion Week.
I agree. I totally agree. So I definitely want to ask this question moving forward is, if you have to collaborate with a brand, who would it be and why?
Ooh, that is really good. If I had to collaborate with a brand, so not just necessarily a designer, but a brand that exists.
Yeah, so you could be anything you want it to be. So it could be a brand, a designer, if you had to create something, or if there's something you could change, whatever you would like to be.
I will say I don't have like a specific brand in mind, but I love working with brands and designers during Fashion Week that love people. I love working with brands and designers that have hearts for children. So, and, you know, have just a heart for humanity, you know, and I mean, we can all agree that we want everybody to be a good human being, but you know, you meet certain designers and you can just tell, and you can smell it around them, and you can sense it. And I love hearing, you know, about their stories about, you know, how they have come to be or where they have come from. So I think that that would probably draw me more so than anything else, you know, to a brand to be able to work with.
That would be great. That would be really good. And like you mentioned, especially like with children and stuff like that, I think that's really a great note, because I feel that a great designer, they're able to see different point of views, and they're able to see style no matter if it's men, women, children, they're able to see style all across. So that would be great. I'll definitely love to see in the future. I'm definitely claiming it. I know something will be in the works, so you'll be collaborating and you'll have your maybe like your extended line of dresses, you know, or something going on. That would be great. Definitely claiming it. And one of the last questions that I have is, how can we continue to support your brand?
So following, you know, liking, subscribing, I am really, again, staying true to the mission now, even more so than ever, to make sure that some of the designers that haven't been put in the front and center, making sure that we do that, making sure that our publication stays in the conversation. And it doesn't have to be in the conversation where we're, you know, being combative in the conversation. It's just taking the stance in the conversation. And then also just being creative with what our privilege is, because we recognize that, you know, even though we still are of color, there are certain things that we have privilege in. Our voice is a privilege. My voice is a privilege. So I want to, you know, continue to use it. So if people can follow and be able to share that, then those are the wonderful things that, you know, would be supportive to my brand.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. So I know for myself, I will definitely list the information on my stories to follow. So just in case if people may have missed this initial live, they are able to still come back and definitely support you. So one other question is, I definitely wanted to touch a little bit more about By Law Fusion.
Yeah, you said it right.
Yes, By Law Fusion. I took 2 years in Spanish, but I need to practice a little more. But
no, you're fine.
yeah, so By Law Fusion. So tell us a little bit more about By Law Fusion. And I know you say you're the fashion director.
Yeah. So we started By Law Fusion in 2013, and the name came out of a dream. I had a dream one night, and it was name the company By Law Fusion. I woke up the next morning, and that's what we named it. But we have several departments. We teach all forms of dance, so ballet, tap, jazz, Latin, you know, both for kids and adults.
Wow.
We also have fitness programming. Our fashion program is one of our newest, so I teach career and industry studies. So I go over every fashion job there possibly is for my kids. It's a double semester progressive program. So they start in September, just like they do school, and they go all the way through to June. They have projects like mock photo shoots, styling. We help them build a portfolio. We bring in different industry professionals to go over what their job is. You know, because again, if I have a kid that says, I want to be a lawyer, but I love fashion, well, do you know there are fashion industry lawyers? And some of them just don't know, you know, so we have to make sure that we just stay accountable to bring that information forth to them. We have journalism. So, you know, I have a heart for that. I don't teach the journalism classes, but my wonderful, wonderful brother, Terrell K. Mercer, does. And, you know, he brings me in ever so often to mentor for that. We have sew and design. So our kids learn how to work a sewing machine. They learn how to make garments.
Wow.
They have their own presentation. We have vocal study. So it is a place where we believe that we can help them build resumes before they need it.
That's amazing. And I think that there's never no time to say, oh, well, you know what, I'm going to start this at this age. As
Absolutely.
soon as you want to, as soon as you see passion for yourself, or as soon as you see that initial need, like you said, start right away. And I love that within your programs, you have different opportunities for everyone. And That is truly amazing. And one thing I definitely wanted to touch back with Fusion was being the fashion director. How that must be so fun because not only are you going to Fashion Week,
So
but
fun.
you're like, hey, maybe I saw this, I could draw this inspiration. So tell us a
Yeah.
little bit about being in that creative role and how your students must love what you pick out for them as far as for their costumes.
It is really, really cool to be able to bring all of that information back to my students. They love it. They follow the journey. Their classes start a little bit later in September because they know I'm gone for 2 weeks. They don't mind at all. I bring them back samples and perks and, all these types of things. So for them, they love it and it's fun. But I think for me, it's a really, really good part of training for myself that keeps me sharp. I love, again, being able to take that time and talk to the designers and figure out, okay, well, what's happening with manufacturing? Well, what's happening with this? And, what are the things that you did to get into the industry? And, all those real life and real time scenarios I'm able to put into our programming. And so I think it's so important that keeping programs relevant for this generation is what is going to allow them to succeed beyond us. It's one thing for them to be reading the history books that they were reading, but we have to be putting, like, what's happening now?
Correct.
This whole pandemic, the things that are happening right now is literally not going to make it into a history class until how many years from now? So all of these things, like, being able to pivot. What does pivoting mean when you have something that you're super in love with and now all of a sudden it's taken away from you? Well, it's really not. You just got to figure out how to newly, creatively do that thing that you love. So I like it. I like that there's no downtime with sharing that with my kids. And if I have to change something syllabus-wise, we're doing it. Like, this is what's happening now, so this is what we need to talk about.
Wow. And I love that you mentioned that because it is very important to adapt with the times, especially the current times. And if I always say if you don't adapt now, then you possibly can adapt later because there's so many initial changes and being able to kind of understand that and roll with the times is very important. So I did have another small question with BioFusion. So now I actually love salsa classes. I didn't know you teach salsa. So do you do kind of classes online? Because I would love to get started on some dance moves.
So we probably will. So we actually, speaking of pivoting, when COVID-19 happened, our facility didn't close, but all of our classes went to virtual learning. So now we have a summer break. All of our teachers are off so their brains can relax because you can imagine the learning curve of everything going virtual when we were just full-blown in the studio. So July and August, they're taking a brain break. We're doing what we call a summer of service. And so we have a 2-story building, and outside of our building, we have large parking lots. And so what we're doing is we're having summer markets that we're giving free vendor space to local Black-owned businesses that were affected by COVID-19.
Wow.
So they can come and sell their local makes that they make and just recoup that money that they, weren't able to work and do and profit off of during, when we've been stuck in the house for 3 months. So, but in September, all of our classes come back, and we do have virtual classes that will be coming back too. So
that would be great. Please share the information. I will definitely love. I took a salsa class here in New York, and that was one of my things that made me feel at home because being from Florida, there's also so many different styles of dance, bachata and stuff, merengue. So I've always felt, I've always felt like it made me feel closer to home. So that's something definitely to look into.
When I come to New York, because I have amazing dancer friends that live in New York, we're going out.
Sure, yes. Just let me know. I have to get my dancing shoes.
So when it's safe.
Yes, I agree.
We'll go out. I say that, but when it's safe, we'll go out. But the dancing in New York is beyond. It's beyond. It's one of my favorite places to go salsa dancing.
Yeah, I agree. Especially, I took a class here at Allen Ailey. They have idea. So my employer, what they do is they actually have classes for the employees. So one time we had a salsa class and it was so great because there was so many people from different departments and they had to
Yeah.
pair us together as salsa dancers, and we had to learn a routine and we had to show the routine to the class after, and it really showed us that partnership, teamwork.
Yep.
It was great. It was
You
great.
have
We encouraged
team
each other.
building.
Yes, it was great, and I truly enjoyed it. And a lot of the employees, they were new like myself, so we were all so scared. But at the end of the class, we were like, if we were like professional dancers, we were definitely getting routines.
Oh
And
my gosh, that's
so,
awesome.
yes, yes, it was great. It was great. But I definitely want to say thank you so much for joining me with this live.
You, I
I
had
do
so much
open
fun
it.
talking to you.
Yes, thank you so much. I do want to open up the comments. If anybody have a comment for Marquita or anything that we mentioned, or if there's some information she would like to reshare, please make sure to drop that below. I think so many people were listening, so that's always a great thing.
Thank you guys. I am such a talker, so thanks for hanging out.
Yes, yes, no problem. So we'll just leave the room open for 1 or 2 questions, because the thing with Instagram Live, since we are getting close to the time mark, they just cut off.
I know.
I hate when it does that, because I just feel like this is so rude. It's like you're talking, it's like it just cuts off so abruptly. But I do have one question. Was your first time going to a fashion show? How was your emotions? Like, how did you feel? Like, were you so excited that you couldn't sleep, or?
The night before was like the first day of school. I had my outfits laid out. I had my shoes, and I told my team, I said the one thing that I have to have, if this is my one diva thing, this is the one thing that I'm going to ask. If Fashion Week is going to start on Thursday, I need us to check into our apartment where we're staying on Wednesday, and I just need a whole day. I don't necessarily want to talk to anybody, but I just need to prep, and I want to, get everything ready. I want to make sure that I'm prepared for the designers, and I just want to have just that kind of woo-saw time. If I get that day, I'm golden. But if we get there and it's like hit the ground running, just the whole week feels like you start to tumble, on yourself.
Yeah.
But so that first day was magical in moments, but then also just a reality check. I was like, okay, I got to learn the subway system, because again, I've been to New York. Going to New York hasn't been a thing, but navigating New York and going from place to place and show to show and maintaining a schedule is a whole different ballgame.
I agree. And I think one comment that I like to add with that, I know for myself, if I'm attending shows, I really like to see where they located, because I'm not trying to be mean, but I always look at my acceptance of that show. If it's kind of like, for example, if I have 3 shows in one day and one show is completely far out, I have to see the time of that show. If it's early enough to where I could just attend it and then commute, then I could be able to do it. But if it's too far out and the shows that I have initially are back to back, there's no way that I can take an Uber or I can take a train or anything to make it on time. So I think that's definitely part of the New York lifestyle. And I think another thing you always have to really be mindful for are just delays in the subway. So sometimes, like, I don't know if you experienced it yet, but I've experienced it on my way to work. I'm on the train, and the next thing you know, the line, it just switches off and goes on to the G line. I was on the F train, went completely to the G line, and the G line goes to Brooklyn, and I have to go to Manhattan. And I was just like, what? How am I going to get to work?
That is probably my biggest fear. Like, if I have to say a fear, because I do not want to be late, I don't want to disappoint. These people have literally, they've told other people no, so that way you can come, and if you're blessed enough for them to know your name and be organizing for you, the least you can do is show up and be on time. So, it's such a poor excuse to say, oh my gosh, the subway, because they're like, yeah, girl, whatever.
Yeah, and they're like, we've been through that too also. So I totally agree. So we
You
are
should have left 2 hours ago.
Yes, exactly. Since we are coming down to the countdown with our initial live ending, Marquita, I just want to say thank you so much for joining me this evening. pleasure to talk with you. I can't wait to see you in person at New York Fashion Week. So I know things will definitely get better. And until then, I will continue to support you. And then also everybody that's watching, I please encourage you to follow Marquita, follow her journey. So thank you so much.
Thank
And
you
I will
so
send
much.
you
See you later, girl.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.